Daredevil is coming to the MCU. Here's how it can happen. The Man Without Fear is returning to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Or joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe if you want to get technical about it. While Marvel's Daredevil ran for 3 seasons on Netflix, those were about as far from meaningfully impacting the MCU as Spider-Man No Way Home is from keeping literally any plot point under wraps. And surprise, surprise, this revelation emerged on Monday as a result of the ongoing Spider-Man No Way Home press tour. However, the news of Ol Hornhead's return didn't come from Tom Holland accidentally spilling the beans, Mark Ruffalo live-streaming the film's premiere, or Tom Holland accidentally spilling the slightly different beans. Rather, it came courtesy of Marvel Studios' head honcho himself, Kevin Feige. With Spider-Man No Way Home tearing a hole in the fabric of the multiverse and letting in all manner of characters like Dr. Octopus, Green Goblin, and Sandman from the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films, and Lizard and Electro from the Andrew Garfield films, inquiring minds wondered about what other iconic Marvel characters might show up. Thankfully, the folks at Cinema Blend asked Kevin Feige the question point blank during the recent press junket. And lo and behold, the typically tight-lipped Feige gave a surprisingly straightforward answer. Sorry, Ben Affleck fans, but according to Feige, quote, "If you were to see Daredevil in upcoming things, Charlie Cox, yes, would be the actor playing Daredevil. Where we see that, how we see that, when we see that, remains to be seen," unquote. That's right, always beware. Charlie Cox is officially going to suit up as Daredevil again in the MCU. At some point. And that's the big question. When will we see Matt Murdock finally join the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Currently, the future is foggier than some Nelsons I could name, but we have some ideas about how, when, and why the Devil of Hell's Kitchen could appear next. If you prefer to read all about it, Eric Diaz has you covered on Nerdist.com. Or if you'd like to go in knowing nothing at all, now's your chance to leave before you have to wade through the hallway of the comment section to emerge unscathed. Let's start with the most talked about possibility, Spider-Man No Way Home. Despite numerous denials by Charlie Cox, rumors have been swirling that Matt Murdock would appear in the MCU as early as Spider-Man No Way Home to help bail Peter out of a tough situation with the police. The first trailer set off a hilariously misguided wave of speculation dubbed Forearm Gate, in which many people swore up and down that a forearm depicted in an interrogation scene erroneously belonged to Cox's Matt Murdock. It's not a totally misguided idea, though. Peter's true identity is now public after Mysterio doxed him on J. Jonah Jameson's show at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home. Considering we see multiple supervillains attacking a building to try to murder Aunt May, and Peter is implicated in the murder of Quentin Beck, the police will likely have questions about his wall-crawling ways. In other words, Spider-Man is going to need an attorney who knows a thing or two about vigilante justice. Speaking with Empire, Tom Holland sent fans into a speculative frenzy when he described a scene with a mystery character that he described as, quote, "one of the coolest scenes I've ever shot." Holland elaborated by saying, quote, "It's 4 people sitting at a table having a conversation about what it's like to be a superhero, and it was amazing. The other day we watched the scene, my brother and I, and our jaws were on the floor," unquote. While the mystery character could be anyone from a Peter Parker from another universe to Dr. Octopus, fans immediately latched onto the idea that the mystery guest could be Matt Murdock. Seeing Matt consulting with Peter, Happy, and Aunt May about Peter's options or lack thereof makes a lot of sense narratively speaking. And it could also be one of the things that drives Peter to seek answers from the occult. You know, a totally normal thing that all teenagers do. Moving on, we come to option number 2, She-Hulk. What better way to introduce the most famous lawyer in the Marvel Universe than by featuring him in a show all about the other most famous lawyer in the Marvel Universe? The upcoming She-Hulk series teased Jennifer Walters' unexpected anger issues, secret gamma laboratories, and 1970s Hulk TV series homages in its first look trailer. And you'd better believe that this legal dramedy isn't going to skip out on the courtroom hijinks. While there are countless characters the Marvel Cinematic Universe could choose to feature, I'm willing to bet that Matt Murdock will make a guest appearance in at least one episode, at the bare minimum. Whether or not we see him suit up and dole out some street justice with his billy club remains to be seen. After that, we arrive at possibility number 3, Echo. That's right, folks, the deaf assassin who is currently leading the Tracksuit Mafia's KB Toys division and is hot on the trail of Clint Barton, Kate Bishop, and whoever was in that Ronin costume is also getting her own Disney Plus series. While little is known about the series itself, Echo's comic book backstory heavily intersects with the Daredevil universe. Created by David Mack and Joe Quesada, Echo first appeared in 1999's Daredevil number 9. Her father worked as an enforcer for Kingpin, who we saw briefly in a very different version of Forearm Gate in Hawkeye episode 3. In the comics, Kingpin secretly had her father killed and turned Echo into his own personal assassin. Eventually, he set her loose on Matt Murdock, who he framed for her father's death, putting the Man Without Fear firmly in her crosshairs. While the MCU version of Echo is hunting down Ronin for the murder of her father, it stands to reason that if Kingpin is involved and does get introduced as all the clues suggest, we could see Daredevil pop up in the eventual series too. After all, it wouldn't take much for Kingpin to lie about Matt Murdock's Season 1 Daredevil costume being the same as the Ronin costume we saw in Echo's flashback in Episode 3. Next up, we come to what I think is the least likely of the bunch, Hawkeye. While Clint Barton and Kate Bishop are undeniably the stars of the show, the Echo storyline is increasingly hinting that we'll see Kingpin rear his ugly head later in the season. It makes sense considering how large Kingpin looms over the Matt Fraction and David Aja comics on which the series is based. And where there's Kingpin, Matt Murdock is never far behind. If Matt Murdock does appear in Hawkeye, it wouldn't be until the very end of the series in a post-credit scene intended to tee up a future series like Echo or She-Hulk. Maybe working as a lawyer for Kate Bishop, or connecting Clint with Jennifer Walters because he can't take the case. Only time will tell, but I remain highly skeptical that they'll drop Daredevil into this series too if they're already teasing Kingpin. Last but not least, we have what is the likeliest answer of all. Daredevil will eventually appear in his own series or movie. While fans were clamoring for Daredevil Season 4, Disney legally was unable to do anything with the character for 2 years following the cancellation of the Netflix series. Rather than a 4th season of the previous series, Marvel will likely do a soft reboot of sorts, with Charlie Cox suiting up as both Matt Murdock and Ol Hornhead. Considering that the Marvel Netflix series existed on the periphery of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there isn't a lot of really messy canon for them to clean up. Still, with the advent of the multiverse in the MCU, Kevin Feige and company have carte blanche to pick and choose different characters and elements from previous stories and series as they see fit without needing to concoct a wild story about how it's possible.
I'm sorry, you're saying there's a multiverse?
Daredevil Season 3 ended its run on Netflix with what was essentially a fresh start for all of its core cast, so one could easily pick up where it left off. But with people like J.K. Simmons crossing cinematic universes as J. Jonah Jameson and the potential return of Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk, they may just take Charlie Cox along for the ride and give him a brand new cast of characters with whom to fight injustice wherever it lurks, probably in the dark. The bigger question is when something like this would happen. Well, with Disney Plus opening the door to street-level characters to coexist alongside these larger universe-threatening stories and giving spin-offs to everyone from Echo to Agatha Harkness, it's only a matter of time. If I were a betting man, I'd say 2023 at the earliest. But I'm not a betting man, and so I won't. What I really want to know is what this means for other characters like Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and of course, Colleen Wing. As with everything MCU related, only time will tell, and we're about to find out for certain who exactly is in Spider-Man No Way Home when it debuts next week. In the meantime, though, we'll have plenty of other MCU deep dives waiting for you on Nerdist.com. For now, tell us, what do you think of this news? How do you think Daredevil will join the MCU? Who else in the MCU is in most need of legal counsel?
You got a visitor.
Who?
Your lawyer.
My lawyer?
Let us know in the comments below. And while you're at it, be sure to like and share this video with your friends and subscribe to our channel. To make sure you never miss a new video, smash that little bell too, you know where it is. And for the latest and greatest in the world of pop culture, stay tuned to Nerdist.com.